Ladies and gentlemen, we have finally finished Monster Hunter Stories 2 Wings of Ruin. It is a long ride. It is a long ride, but we were able to get through it. It is time for me to give its final review so I can finally delete every single template off of my computer, because there's no way we'll probably be playing this game ever again, and I do want to specify that. What's going on, guys? It's your boy Cash, and we are here to discuss Monster Hunter Stories. Now, the playlist is going to be available if you guys want to check it out after I say this, or maybe never touch it again, because you guys know when it's M.F.O, it's 100% M.F.O. It is going to be no holds barred, no sugarcoating of anything, and it's especially if you don't watch the video, but you just kind of want to. I want to get into, I guess, giving people the habit to, like, maybe if they see the episodes pop up and they don't really want to watch the episodes, but they want to see what I thought about it overall. I do want to, maybe, I don't know, you guys tell me, maybe do a first impressions video at the beginning and then do a final M.F.O video at the end, things of that nature. Or if I stop playing a game, I'll probably do an M.F.O at that point too, that just say I can't play it. I can't keep on playing this game, it sucks, or something like that. But so let's go over, I guess, the non-spoiler part, where I'm just going to discuss it. And the non-spoiler part, I feel like, is going to be bigger than the spoiler-esque, to go to, like, certain things of the story. Because most of my gripes are with the, or anything that I don't like, is mostly with the system that is in play. So the game is basically rock, paper, scissors. Pretty much when you're playing it, it's a Pokemon-based game, kind of, sort of, with Monster Hunters kind of slapped on top of it. Now, the only difference is that Pokemon, you learn 4 moves, and you rotate those 4 moves as the Pokemon levels up, and you kind of, each move, there's elements to it and stuff like that. Now, Monster Hunter has elements as well, like there is like fire, ice, all the other nonsense in there, but it's not as relevant too much. You don't really, like, I mean, you probably could, maybe I didn't use it enough, so that's my fault, but it's really not too much important. What's more important is making sure of the rock, paper, scissors system is that you have that ready to go. And that's specifically, like, you have the ability to have a monster that it's either red as power, blue as speed, or green as technical, and it goes in that little triangle. Power is beaten by speed, speed is beaten by technical, technical is beaten by power. So like I said, it's pretty much rock, paper, scissors. So the only issue that I kind of had with that is that pretty much when you're going into a fight, let's say your first fight with a monster, you have to pretty much guess the first one, right? So you guess one, and then you're either got it right or you get it wrong, and then you're pretty much behind in the fight. And depending on how, especially as the game progressed, that mechanic would punish you severely, because if you were going into a fight that was kind of above your level, but you could technically do it if you knew everything, you end up losing the fight and then having to go back. Now, the issue with having to go back is that sometimes there's really no strong checkpoint for you, and you are now walking like a decent amount. And I think if you guys watch, and if you watch, especially in the later episodes, I started to cut out like backtracking and stuff like that. In the beginning, I kept it in because it was just like, I didn't think it was too big of a deal. But later in the episodes, you can see that I get tired of it. It's just like, I don't feel like walking all the way back because I lost a fight, because I didn't know how that fight was gonna go. And to be fair, in games like this, like a Final Fantasy is a very similar, RPG kind of game, you will get caught off by certain things that a boss will do. And you have to pay attention to the cues that the game's giving you, like, oh my god, the train is coming, you gotta stop the train. So they'll tell you this, like, oh, this guy has this type of moves, like you can hit certain body parts on certain monsters, and that will either knock them down or stop a big attack. Like, for example, there's one monster that if you take out their tail, they can't do any tail attacks. You take out the claws, they can't do a claw attack. But if you didn't know that, or let's say you're skipping the dialogue, and then all of a sudden you try to take out that body part last, and you just end up dying because they start doing this really powerful move, and it's like, dang, I can't. What's gonna stop me? What's gonna stop him from doing that move? And you probably didn't pay attention. So it's pretty much like break all the body parts, but certain body parts are meant to be broken quicker. So that was one issue. It wasn't that bad because sometimes it was fun guessing and you get it right. But the issue that I started having with it is your monster. Now, the whole story premise is that instead of riders, instead of hunters, like what Monster Hunter is, They do have hunters in the game. Now these hunters do not ride monsters, or they do not tame and control them. They are like the hunters, like how you play in most Monster Hunter games. You are out there, you're figuring out how the monster works, and you're just there to pretty much slay it, to protect the ecosystem or whatever like that. That's usually the Monster Hunter way. We're killing them to save everything else. They're acting too crazy, or there's some anomaly. We got to kill them. They're a threat to humanity, just this specific one, and that's usually what they're doing, right? But the riders are supposed to have a bond with the monster to where they are able to control them and they do with them at the will. But for some reason, the monster pretty much every turn does whatever it wants. Now, the only thing that I noticed that is consistent is that whatever type it is, like I said, power, speed, or technical, whatever type that monster is, when you switch it in, it does do its type attack. So if I have a speed monster, I switch a speed monster in, it will do a speed attack. So you can use that to your advantage to force a speed attack to win the rock, paper, scissors. You win the rock, paper, scissors against a monster, it actually, you do reduce, I think you take reduced damage and you do more to them. That's one thing that is part of that system. If you and your monster are, if he's targeting you or your monster and you guys do the same type of attack and it's both advantageous, it does a double attack, which is cool. Like that's cool mechanics and stuff like that. But the problem with that is that sometimes the monster will just do a random attack. Like it will just do a random attack. It might just, you know what, I'm just gonna go technical. It's like, wait, why? You're not a technical monster. And I can't force it to do rock, paper, scissors. The only thing I can force it to do is to use a move in its arsenal that might be the color that I need. So you can actually change or equip different skills to a monster so that you can always, I guess, be able to switch it. But the fact is that I should be able to choose what it is in the first place. It's my monster. I control it. I own it. Well, I don't own it, you know, let me not get with the writer police, but it's pretty much I tell it what to do, because I can tell it to use a specific move, but I can't tell it to use its like basic attack move for some reason every turn, which I would prefer that I could do that. That's just like a minor gripe about it. I think that was just like something I think was like a slight oversight. And the other oversight, like I said, was the whole trekking to certain things. I think that some of these dungeons and dens or something like that were definitely a little bit too long, especially because unless you're farming, and hey, I think the farming should have been more or less like outside. You could, you know, because you could see the monsters, you can run into them or you can avoid them. I think they were a little bit too long of like a journey to like try to get you to hopefully run into them. They would see you and then like ha, I got you, and then but you could just run away. There seems to be it's not the Pokemon system where there's like they evaluate your levels and stuff like that and see if you can run away or whatever. You can run away from pretty much any fight that you want to, as long as it's not like a story fight or you're pretty much, yeah, as long as it's not a story fight, you can pretty much run away, or a quest. So I'm like if I can run away from all these fights, then why are you like making me go through this long like empty pretty much corridor? A lot of them are repetitive. They're like the same corridor, like the same little dungeon spot that you already went through, and you just kind of like, I just want to get to this thing that I'm trying to get to, whether it's I'm just trying to get to this quest or I'm just trying to get to the story thing, and I gotta go through this long winding road. And it's like it was okay in the beginning because you see so many different monsters that you fought, but later in the game, and that's not necessarily a spoiler, but like later in the game, some of the monsters are repetitive. Like they turn a Nagakuga and then it's like a green one, or this. So I already seen that monster, I don't want to fight again. Or I just beat this monster as a boss, cool fight, loved it, and then it pops up regularly and it's like I don't necessarily want to fight again unless I want its armor or its weapons. So it's like, what are you forcing me to? Why am I having to fight this thing again? And the last big thing that I really want to address is the silent protagonist. That is like, I've mentioned it multiple times during the playthrough, is that your protagonist is silent. So what this means is that you are pretty much going to be spoken like through other characters. Other characters are going to express your emotions. They're going to express how you feel. They're going to look at you. You're going to either like I was making fun of it, just the head nod. You always have to give like these non-verbal confirmations, and they have to use your face to like pretty much like, oh, are you really upset about that? And the character's like, it's like, oh, you are upset about that. Or like, how do you feel? Are you revved up and ready to go? Your character's like, yeah, right on, and stuff like that. It's like, or you could just give my character a voice. I mentioned this in one of the videos, is that in Dragon Age, they probably did it the best in Dragon Age, because in the Dragon Age 1, they gave you a title. So in Dragon Age 1, you can name your character whatever you want. It did not matter. Why? Because every character is going to refer to you as the Grey Warden. So they're like, hey, Grey Warden, hey, how's it going? You see, you one of the Grey Wardens, blah, blah, blah. And everyone in your crew, I think, outside of one other person, which I think his name is Alistair, they know him by name because he was a pretty famous guy. So they would refer to him as his name, and they could easily refer to you as Grey Warden, which allows you to not have to worry about, oh, if I give the character a customized name and let them customize them, I can't give the character a voice because then, you know, I'd have to have multiple different custom voices for, for this character. It would be too expensive, and that's normally the reason why they don't do that. It's very expensive to have like multiple different voice actors do an entire story. You can kind of see how long this game is. So imagine if they had custom voices for each of the parts of the game where there was characters talking. It would be very expensive. I understand that, but they also could have just did that and then not have Naviru speak as much or anything like that. I would have definitely took that out. That would have been fine. Or not maybe have as many supporting characters, or just do it like I say properly. Now in Dragon Age 2, they gave your character a last name that was very famous or something like that. You came from a very famous house or something like that. So your name, everyone referred to you as your last name. Your last name was Hawk. So your first name was irrelevant. You can name your thing Cash Bryant, the Kashino, anything like that. And it made little to no difference on how people refer to you. So it allowed you once again to have a character with its own voice. And even in that game, you can pick 3 options of how your character responds. So that means they went above and beyond to give your character multiple responses to different situations, and then people will react differently based on that. So that means they were even more voice acting on the other, on the random characters with you, because they will respond to you and stuff like that. So I like games like that where they don't just cop out and give you a silent protagonist because either, like I said, either it's a money issue, or they think that it's the characters around, I think this is me giving them a cop-out. I think they think the characters around the protagonist are more interesting, and they rather tell the story through them because they're more interesting characters. And you could tell because Naviru was a very well-developed character in the thing, but he just gets annoying. And because he's asking questions, other people are asking questions to the main character, and it's like, how do you feel about that? And my character can't technically tell them. He can't answer the question. They make it seem like I'm on mute, or I have like some type of verbal disease that I cannot tell people how I feel, and things like that. And sometimes you see the narration pop up on the screen, and then, like the recap of the chapter or something like that, and it's like, yo, you're feeling bad about this. Trust me, I know. I'm the dialogue box that popped up, and it's like, come on, man. Come on, man. So that's another strike on it. As far as everything good, I like all the monsters. I like the whole system of the monsters. I love to see it, especially as a Monster Hunter fan. I think that is one of the biggest calls to it, is to be able to play with a famous monster that you might have liked that's in the game, and just not only use it, attack with it, see its skills, to see how accurately they depict certain skills. I think that's really cool. And then the kinship skill, to see like them like do one of their signature moves, but you're like riding on their backs or something like that, was really cool. I definitely thought that was the dope aspect of it, and it's still a pretty good RPG game. I maybe shouldn't rag on the game so much in the beginning of the review, but I like to talk about what I don't like first, because it just like, I feel like more people always want to hear that first, because that's gonna keep them back. But as far as what is good, what's good about it is the game, it plays fine. I think that I feel like it had way more audio issues than I feel like, because of all the speeding up. I don't know if that was just my experience, maybe it's my capture card, but I think everything was really fun about the game, like stealing the eggs, bringing the eggs back, which eventually becomes like a little tedious, but I was like, it's not that fun, it's not that bad. And there's definitely an extra layer of, like, especially once you beat the game, that you can just keep going back and doing that and getting different genes, because you can do like genes, you can pretty much add moves. Like I was saying before, you can definitely, oh, my monster's a speed monster, but I wanted to have a technical move, or I wanted to have a technical move in case, like, for whatever. Or you can have every single move of each different type, so you never have to switch that monster out. That's an option for you if you really want to do that, and that actually could benefit you. Maybe that was a thing that more people do that I wasn't aware that people did, and that helps them get through the game. Like, oh, I never switch out my monster. I just keep that one monster in, and it always has everything prepared. So there's multiple different ways to play the game and to get to the same end result. Now, it's time for the spoiler. If you guys don't want to hear spoilers, you want to go watch the playthrough or something like that, this is your time. This is your time, baby. This is your time. But I need to say some stuff. All right, so when it comes to the actual spoiler of the game, which is like story-based related, I did not like, specifically did not like them recapping certain information. It felt like they'll say one thing like, oh, Ratha, oh, Ratha is this type of beast or something like that, and later on they'll be like, what kind of beast is Ratha? I thought you knew. And it's like it's really weird, just like very strange of how they would just like have specific information and then literally like have someone else act like they don't know it, even though they were around when that information was told. And oh my god, it started driving me nuts. It would just be like, I can't even think of a specific example, but they did that a lot. It was pretty much, in my opinion, I think that they were stalling time. It's like they were just stalling time. It's like, and you would visibly see me get upset about that. Like, yo, bro, you just went over this. You just went over this. They'll be like, oh, the story of this whole legend is tablet. And they're like, yeah, look, if you have the tablet like this, facing this direction, Ratha is the enemy. Ratha is the enemy, you know? And I'm thinking like, okay. But the practice that, oh, well, we had the story just becomes we had it upside down. So actually, Ratha is not bringing death upon people. Ratha is trying to save the people. And it's like so weird. And I guess if you really look into it, the guy Zellard, which I clearly thought was an evil dude. I think I would love to look back when I first was introduced. I don't know what episode I was introduced to him, but he just looked evil. He had an evil presence to him, and he was definitely a weirdo. And they definitely didn't really try to hide it, but they was just kind of hoping that they would just throw so many missions at you that you maybe didn't notice it. But you can tell that he knew the correct lore, but he pretty much perpetuated like that it was the Ratha that was going to bring destruction and chaos. We need to find a way. And I started saying it kind of bring it to my mind. It kind of makes sense. Oh, he wants to seal the monster away. Why does he want to seal it? Because he wants to know how to awaken it, to control the awakening, so he can pretty much use it himself. But the weird part is that if he was able to do all this stuff, it just seemed like him coming only at the end as the secret hidden boss or whatever like that. He comes pretty much at the end, and he's able to instantly control the Ratha. And they really didn't explain why he was able to do that. Like, he pretty much was able to instantly turn it into its raised wing form. And I just find that it just seems a little bit bad. I think it would have been fine if he actually like cast a spell on it. You see him put a chain on it, right? At one point, it has like a really weird like a dog spike collar kind of thing on it, and then he takes control over it, but then that thing goes away. So it's like, so how is he controlling it now? It's like they never really explain how he's able to do that, and that was just very, very weird. And like I don't know how, like, bad writing, I guess. It was just really bad writing. I didn't mind that he was the villain, you know, or that he was the one assisting the issue that was already pretty much happening. So he didn't really do anything. He just wanted to help the Ratha, the Rathalos pretty much get into the pit for Altura. Now, I also think that it was weird that they showed Altura as a, like, you know, hentai Hydra monster, but then you don't fight it as a hentai Hydra monster. You fight it as a like a moth, like a dragon moth, which looks really cool. I like the design of it. But the thing that was weird about that is that, like, why didn't you guys have me at least fight once? Like, and they have a decent amount of fights where it's pretty much scripted. You're not gonna beat it or something like that. And they had, even in the last fight, which I'll go into very soon, is that they had the last fight, you know, where there was times where the monster, like, it's like a scripted event that's gonna, like, it's gonna bring you down to this, or it's gonna potentially kill you, but then like something else interferes and changes it. So they could have did it that you at least fought it once. I think that you should have fought it once, especially because when you first introduced to the Altura in the ground, it's like it comes out, it has like a double mouth. It looks like a really cool, interesting monster, but they never show it. And it's just, like, it's such a weird thing. Like, it's a monster that's able to pop up pits all around the world, but you never get to fight like this big huge thing. I think it would have been amazing. I think that in Monster Hunter games, they actually did a pretty good job of like showcasing or doing really big fights when you're fighting a larger than life, large scale monster. I think when you do Zora Magnaros, I think it was, you know, you got the Dragonator, you got so many different things to fight this big monster. You're moving to multiple different places. I think that they could have did something like that, and then possibly then after you weakened it or something like that, then Zillard gets involved, and then he finishes it off, and then you fight the Moth. Like I think that that would have been a little bit better, just to make it, you know, make a little bit more sense as far as when it comes down to like, pretty much the setup that they had wasn't that bad. Like, he takes over the Rathalos and they're trying their best to avert it. Then the Guardian Rathalos comes in and saves the day, but also gets consumed, and then he still gets the same form, which begs the difference. Did he, because all the Rathalos were kind of getting sucked into that, did he just need a strong Rathalos, or did that family line of Rathalos between Guardian Ratha and the Ratha that we had, was that just that's that good shit? Like, I don't know. Like, it's just definitely a really weird thing that they had there. I think that they could have cleaned it up, but that scene was pretty good. I think it was a good scene. And then lastly was the last fight was, you know, multiple different tiers. You have to really, like I said, I had to write it down because it kept changing on what rock paper scissors he was, power, speed, or technical, depending on was he rage, because then you'll have like a situation where he's rage but his wings are out. So like usually each change in the monster's appearance usually does mean something. So first he starts off green, and then he gets angry, goes red, but then you bring him back to green, and then one of his wings starts sprouting, then he's blue, and then it's like, then he also gets rage when he's blue. So it's like, wait, so should he now be red like he was before? No, he's still blue. And you die, you know, because I don't know what kind of armor I'd have to do to withstand an incorrect guess like that, but you end up dying. You lose a heart for that. So then you go back and it's like, okay, so it's blue, and then you think he's blue, or he starts using non-target attacks. I should have mentioned this before, is that there's the times where the monster can attack without dedicating itself to a color. So that guy would do 2 attacks in a row based on his aura. So he'll do a Blaze Tempest, then a Thunder Tempest, or Ice Tempest and Water Tempest, and he could easily do that, and then you can't counter, you can't do any of that nonsense, and you just have to take the damage. That's it. You just take the damage, or you have to freeze it with a kinship skill to pretty much interrupt the turn. And the only reason why I was able to beat it is because I started to have a proper cycle, you know, of kinships and stuff like that, so I can eventually get to the bottom. I got to get to the bottom, but like actually finish off the boss. So it was just like a lot of micromanaging, but I think the game has a decent difficulty curve, but sometimes it does come off very easy. But when it's hard, it's because you lack critical information. That's pretty much why you lose, because you didn't know that when it goes into this rage mode, or any of the boss, not specifically the final boss, but later in the game, it was like this monster used a move. It wasn't a big telltale. It's like it used a move and then it changed its elemental type, like that it's going to be attacking with. And you guess wrong, guess what? You start taking a lot of damage. Now you're on recovery. You have to waste a turn to recover, especially if you don't have a partner with you. Oh yeah, and Kyle's the GOAT. Yeah, we're just gonna leave it off as Kyle's the GOAT. He ends the game with it. I do wonder if there's a way to maybe use somebody else if you really wanted to, but it looks like at the end he definitely is involved, because he's the only archer I think that they had in there. No, wasn't someone else an archer? Oh yeah, Alwyn was the archer. I wonder if you can actually had Alwyn instead of Kyle at the end there. That would have been interesting. Or the part before when you're like using Kyle, and I don't know, it just seemed that was a little weird too. Like the bond between Kyle, he was a hunter, but you do mix and mingle with another hunter, you know, so it wasn't like the only hunter that you could have mixed and mingled with. But all in all, final thoughts is that I think the game is really good. I think it is worth a play, because like I said, I'm not going to keep playing it because I have other games to play, but it does have a decent amount of replay value. They are, as you guys see in some of the episodes, that they are adding actual content to the game as I was in the middle of my playthrough, so that you can get a Palamute, which I didn't want to do that because I felt like it would have made some of them might have been overpowered. I didn't know. I didn't want to test it out or anything like that. But other monsters are getting added to the game that you can go fight, so they're like kind of like a DLC, if you will. And I think that's pretty cool. So it's not a game that they're, you know, just gonna abandon. It's like one of these games, and they can also do what they do with the Monster Hunter series, at least recently, where they do a big expansion into the game. So a whole additional side quest, that a DLC side quest pretty much line, where you have to play through a couple series of fights and get to another conclusion. Maybe they could add a DLC when you play as Red or something like that, and like some of his hard battles before he passed or something like that. There's a lot of things that they could do with the game. So excited. I would definitely play a Monster Hunter Stories 3. I definitely would. I was very skeptical about this game, and for me to then play it and still enjoy it is a big thing for me. And it's kind of the thing of the channel is just to try out some games that I want to check out, and I was kind of happy that we did check this out, even though it was, I think it dragged for a little bit, but I think that it still eventually got good near the end. The last like 20-ish, not 20, the last 15-ish episodes were really, really good in my opinion. Just had to get through them. But of course, YFOs in the comment section below. Let me know how you feel. If you are here, if you play the game yourself, or if you just watch my playthrough. How did you feel about Monster Hunter Stories 2: The Wings of Ruin? What are things you thought that they could have done better? What were things that you thought were perfectly fine and you definitely enjoyed? I would love to know. Next game after this is going to be Demon Souls. We're going to dive into that. That should be pretty fun. Definitely won't be as long as this. I should be able to play it decently enough that it shouldn't be as long as this. And yeah, hope you guys look forward to that. Like, comment, subscribe if you're interested to see the Demon Souls playthrough. You guys subscribe, hit the bell, and all that nonsense. Just remember that every day at the Kashino is your lucky day, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.